Hello, I'm Carolyn Holzman, and this is Confessions of an SEO. You've come across the least SEO podcast on the planet. No interviews, no FOMO. Really just a place to relax and feel okay that you're an SEO. Now, the last a lot of episodes have been heavy on the helpful content update and system. Now, I think you should expect more of that because I believe I have uncovered what it is that the helpful content is tracking, and I can prove it. Welcome to Season 4, Episode 17 of Confessions of an SEO. Today's show is called The 3 Stages of Truth. Now, in last week's show, I talked about basically how our assumptions as SEOs catch us up all the time. And that episode was centered around Gary Elis's response to why Google has a problem with AI content, to which someone on Facebook was like, well, if that is true, then why did all the sites in the last update that used AI content lose their traffic? Now, I talked about this last week, but I'm just referring to it again because I'm thinking, if we're staring at something in the face that we cannot deny. Like we cannot deny that in this case, something is up. And even then, with all our experience, we cannot see our way to a possible explanation. Not even one that we don't like even. So in my practice, when I get to that point, usually I figure that there's something in there that I must be assuming to be true that I haven't accounted for. And that's very true when it comes to discerning low quality content. You might, just to get all the details, you might want to listen to last week's show. There'll be a link in the description to YouTube. I also put the podcast on YouTube channel. Now, I had an interesting week last week, and not just because Google announced the March core update was over on April 19th. Did you catch that? On April 26th, they announced that it was over and that it ended on April 19th. I pushed out what I had been hinting at for a while. It's out. It is my guide, my research, hypothesis, where I break it down, decoding Google's helpful content system. You can check it out. I have a short link for it. It's bit.ly/helpful content system. So that's a bit.ly link, bit.ly, and then / and then it's all lowercase, helpful content system. After I did this, I took some time out for a little family time and got far too quickly adjusted to not having a normal work day. Came back, and to my absolute delight in terms of what it meant to them, I found out that not only, was the hypothesis resonating with those that read, as it is intended to do, was supposed to help people, and that they were super excited about being able to see now where their sites or their client sites were taking that left turn at Albuquerque when it comes to the helpful content. It's a starting point, right? I know this is going to be a bit of a bumpy ride. And here's why I think that whatever it is, it's worth it. So let me share some stats of a site that has kept me motivated to get this information out there. And the site was the main source of income for these people. Now, it was hit after the September helpful content update, as well as this past core update. Then, now that the helpful content system is baked into the core algorithm. Now, I'm going to mention this probably in a little more detail in the article in Moz. That'll be coming out. Not sure the date yet, but I will be, talking about it there. But I need to talk about it here to illustrate. Just one set of points. I compared September 1st, 2023 to April 22nd, 2024. So that those dates cumulatively across that range of time would have been the last helpful content update in 2023, and then this past March core. All right. In Search Console, between those two dates, I tracked a 96% loss in clicks. Ouch. And then 97% loss of impressions. When I say that there are elements in the helpful content system that are existential threats to sites, I'm not exaggerating. The data tells me. Now, in clinical trials, sometimes medical world, sometimes results are so positive that they call off their clinical trial so they can start to translate all of their findings and move that more rapidly into a place where that can benefit the patients that so desperately need whatever it was that they were testing. Well, that's kind of what happened here. No one disputes the testing methodology. And the conclusions come about because, let's face it, we all know that 98% is better than 46%, right? We don't have to be geniuses to catch that. Now, I hope you don't mind if I go off-road here a bit. I've titled this The 3 Stages of Truth. Well, that phrase is not original. I didn't come up with it. It's coined by Arthur Schopenhauer. Now, he was a 19th century German philosopher. So those of us who have been a little while out of school, let me just say he was probably somebody who was a lot of fun at parties. Seriously, though, he was truly a glass less than half full kind of guy, but clearly not a bad guy. So he had this concept of 3 stages of truth, and he used it to kind of illustrate how new ideas are typically received and the path they go to the point where then they are accepted, and that happens over time. And he saw 3 distinct stages. I will share them with you. The first one was ridicule. In the first stage, a new idea is ridiculed and dismissed by most people. It's met with skepticism, mockery, or outright rejection not because it's not accurate, but because it challenges established beliefs, or another word to say that, conventions, the things that we normally do. The second one is violent opposition. As an idea starts to gain traction and begins to be taken more seriously, it faces intense opposition and criticism. Those who hold entrenched beliefs may feel threatened by this new idea and vigorously oppose it, and sometimes resorting to personal attacks or attempts in some fashion to suppress it. Now, the last one is acceptance. Acceptance as self-evident, meaning this is how it's always been. Eventually, if an idea proves its worth and validity through evidence, reasoning, and in some cases, societal changes, it becomes accepted as self-evident truth. So what was once ridiculed and opposed now is widely recognized and incorporated into prevailing understanding. Now, he used this framework to demonstrate the process by which new ideas make their way into society and become accepted as conventional wisdom. He believed that progress often involves challenging existing beliefs and overcoming resistance to change. His ideas, apparently, they can trace back influence on later philosophers, including Friedrich Nietzsche, Sigmund Freud, and our all favorite Albert Einstein. Like I say, no slouch, and considered one of the most important figures in Western philosophy. That kind of brings me back now. So we went off road. Now we're coming back. So why now, putting this helpful content research out there? Given that the findings in a test environment in the SERPs revealed a bias, and it revealed one that clearly didn't get there by accident. It's not to say that Google only uses the helpful content system to sort things out. It just seems to be what we used to think was just unuseful, but did not kill our sites before. It may have algorithmically wounded them, right? Made them not rank as well, but it didn't kill them. Besides, that's kind of like what Google manual penalties are for. But now, when you have a system that can basically automatically seek and destroy, it began to feel unethical for me to not make this more available. I'll be honest with you, it's not free. You have to pay for it, but it's not like crazy. The value you're going to get out of it is amazing. Now, I'm sorry, it sounds a little modest, forgive me. When your site and your business can lose 96% of clicks and impressions, I don't know what these people were making, but likely right now it is barely a fraction of what they used to make. It felt like, to me at least, it was the right time to damn the torpedoes and make sail. So I am gratified with those that were able to expand their possibility footprint in their brains and find in their sites and in their clients' sites similar evidence, like what I found in the field evidence in the guide. Now, I also noticed this week, it's also a little evidence that some of us are in the group of, how shall we call it, a jaded set of mofos. So I'm not entirely sure which stage of this truth that we're at. All I know is for sure we definitely aren't at the acceptance stage. But here's my philosophy of SEO training. If you know the principles of something like a search engine, you're far better off to understand the principles than to be given a tactic that kind of works alongside that principle until it doesn't. Because if you have a principle, no matter what happens, how it's expressed, you don't have to be in SEO a long time to understand that there are many ways to skin a cat. There are many ways that a principle can be, the word isn't like fed, but you know what I mean? You can work with a principle, but that doesn't mean we're all doing the same things. I guess I want to say that the actions, the tactics. That's what pissed me off so much about the Core Web Vitals debate a few years back. Now, Google said it was a ranking factor. Strangely enough, data showed that it wasn't. Now, what I'm about to say, all came from Lee Witcher's field data analysis. And I don't know what he's done with it lately, but at the time, when you looked at it, based on all those little numbers that everybody had to have approved, so everything would turn green, it was far more likely that the better your Core Web Vitals signs were, the worse you ranked. So sure, optimize your images, reduce the time to load your content, but don't be a slave to a number just because Google said something. And behind the scenes, I know that there were companies who literally, I think if we all add it up, it's probably millions, maybe plural, to improve those numbers. So all I have to say to somebody is, good luck figuring out that RO. I will say all that to emphasize that when people get the helpful content guide, they're hard pressed to find any specific tactic in there. The only thing that's in there is telling you where to dig and why that is a place to dig. And the why holds up in testing and in the field. So if you're suffering from a helpful content demise, please don't just sit around waiting for someone with a large ad budget to tell you, hey, I found the one simple thing you need to do if you want to recover. Now, I'm going to tell you what I put on the sales page because for me, it's essential. We cannot solve an SEO issue with a CRO answer. No insult to those in conversion rate optimization field. We definitely need them, and this is an SEO question. What do we do so that we can stay in the SERPs? Now, my hope is that this data will free many, hopefully you, from the frustration of a Google system that torments them, as well as, the loss of revenue from being decimated in search. A lot of people haven't slept well in a while. The value of knowing where to dig in your content will more than provide an ROI to the investment you would make to find out. What I include in here in this is the beginning. It shows you where to dig. Research is ongoing. I go where the data leads me, and it continues to lead me in the direction of the hypothesis. Even if you buy, you're still going to have to bring your SEO mind, and you're going to have to cut your own meat, meaning your site could be a fucking mess. Now, odds are you have multiple issues. You will need to spend some time and stop looking outside for the shiny easy button. If it's really bad, this won't be easy, but it is doable. Now, I'm waiting at this very moment for a little more information on a case based on the hypothesis in the guide. A recovery may have been made on a site that only had a little damage. Now, I've got the site, I've got the data and the in and out dates, but there was a little 301 involved. And the notes didn't include which date that was. So I am sitting on pins and needles. I swear. It's like expecting Christmas. Anyway, I just really appreciate your time. That's it for me this week. Remember, for up-to-date testing data on the state of Google's indexation system. Because why else are you guys all talking about indexing services? Check out Crawl or No Crawl on Substack. There'll be a link in here. I'm speaking at the Entity Elevation Summit in June. You can check out the summit itself. You don't want to miss this one, and you may not have to always come to the event. They are going to offer streaming access based on various talks. Not all of them will be there, because if people are coming, they should probably get a little something that nobody else does. But if you can't physically make it to the whole thing, you can grab a ticket to individual presentations. Mine will be on the helpful content system, pretty much how to recognize it when you see it and what to do about it. Now, for ongoing training, I'm letting the cat out of the bag here. Get on the Search-Driven Insights Substack with your best email. If you are weeping and wailing, maybe you need fresher data. This is going to be a training and educational intersection between testing and experience to help people sharpen their skills, their SEO skills. Now, again, if you think you have a site that's been hit by the helpful content system, and remember, it's baked into the algorithm now, I'm part of a team working on an HCU recovery service. It's in its first iteration. Plan will be able to look at your site before starting and know 100% beforehand if the service will be for you. Thank you for coming. Thank you for being a listener. If you have questions or topic ideas, I want to hear from you. You can text Confessions at 512-222-3132. Thanks again, and until next week, I'll see you in the SERPs.